Hi, folks. I'm Mike, and I hope you're well. And welcome to Creative Studio Live, our weekly debate show where we discuss everything music and recording related. And we like to think of a topic each week where we have a pro and a cons type of a format for it. And before I stumble over any more words, I think I'll go over to my co-host, Pete Johns. Pete Johns, welcome to the show. And what have you been up to this week?
Imagine there's no. Sorry, I was just recording on my. This is my home studio. I record on my iPhone. I'm doing well, Mike. How are you? And yes, you're going to get a copyright strike for me singing Beatles songs. Never a good idea straight off the bat. I had a great week. We've had some brand new announcements. Apple got up there and people cheered for things that are going to cost lots of money and are going to change their world at the Worldwide Developer Conference. We've got a new iOS coming. We've got a new iPad OS coming. We've got new. Everything is new. It's everything is going great in the world of Studio Live today. What about over at Creative Source? What have you been up to?
Well, over at Creative Source, I put out a video this week about EQ, and it got a nice response from people. And what I learned from this, Pete, being a video creator and a person like yourself who's trying to help people along with the task of recording at home, is that you can never simplify things enough. I mean, it's really good to get down to the nuts and bolts and the basics of things, and we often forget that the terminology we use and that kind of thing can be confusing for new people coming along, and I think myself and you are on the same boat with this, that we don't want to prohibit people from getting into this. We want to enable them to get into it. So I learned a good lesson from making that video, because I think the feedback I got taught me that people want to know these things, but they want them in the basic sort of sense to begin with. So
Absolutely, and it is a fantastic video. I know you don't toot your own horn enough, but if you haven't checked it out and you need to know about EQ, I spent 20 minutes with Mike, and then I watched his video, and then it was great. I learned a lot of stuff about EQ that I didn't know about, and I think that's the key. Even if you think you know everything, you don't know everything, and be a lifelong learner, and you'll do all right. But all that being said, I guess we've got a show to do, and we've got some topic to talk about.
we do. And for people watching, if you haven't watched before, welcome to the show. Do say hi in the comments. We like to include the comments in the show where we can, and we like for people in the comments to score. And what are they scoring? They're scoring a debate between myself and Pete this week about whether you should record your next album at home or in a pro studio. Now, I've fielded this question out there at a little bit viewers at all.
We had our first little cutout there, Mike. I lost you for about one minute, so you're gonna have to repeat your question.
I was asking whether you'd asked any of your regular viewers about this question at all during the week.
Oh no, it cut you off again. I'm gonna assume that you said, how good am I at playing rugby? And the answer is exceptional.
Okay, that was exactly the question that I did actually ask, funny enough. Amazing guess. So moving on, what we do, folks who are watching, is we make 4 points each, except at this moment in time, we do not know which points we're going to be making, because we flip a coin to see which one of us will be arguing which side. Now, as I am the home host this week and Pete is the guest host, I will be allowing him to choose. I'm going to flip this Australian 20-cent coin. Pete had a 50 cents. I'm obviously not as well off as Pete is. I've only got a 20 cents. So I'll just flip that.
We're going with a head.
We're going with a head. And I'm afraid to say, Pete, that it's not showing up on the camera very well. It's a tail. It's a tail.
I can see the tail. I can see the platypus tail. The tail, the 20 has a platypus, and it's showing his tail. So you are the winner, which means you can choose.
I am the winner, and I'm going to be arguing. I'm going to argue for the home studio.
What a surprise. All right, Pro Studios all the way. Let's get our wallets out and get cracking.
Okay, so we're going to be off with point number one. I just want to say hi to Mimo Japan, who's one of my regulars in the comments, and Mark Clift, And Mimo, if you're going to be around, I think you can do the scoring. You can score in whichever way you fancy, and basically you should make sure I win. No, but you're going to be scoring, and Pete's going to kick off with the first point. Pete, you're going to tell me why I shouldn't record my next album in my home studio and why I should go to the pro studio.
Right. So yes, I'm glad I got this side, because it's yes, pro studios are definitely a big part of my channel, and I know an awful lot about them. So let's get cracking. So why should you go to a pro studio? Well, the number one reason is that it's a second set of ears. So you know what the biggest problem with us here in our home studios is, Mike?
We've only got 2 ears.
Exactly. You need more ears. You need at least 4 ears to get a good set. No, we sit in our audio caves. We do our thing. We noodle away. We play. We record. And then we do not share with the world. We get to the end of our song and then we share and we go, here is our masterpiece. And people go, vocals are too loud, guitars are too muddy, and your bass is not kicking enough. And we go, how dare you? Why did you say that? Whereas, you know what? You go to a pro studio, you're working with an engineer, maybe you've got a producer there, maybe you've got someone else that's working with you that's recording. You can be the talent, you can play your thing, and then you get the benefit of that second set of ears. Ears 3 and 4 can say to you, your vocals are too loud, we're going to turn you down. And you could go, no, my vocals are my children, you cannot turn my vocals down. And they will go, we're turning your vocals down. And then you listen to it afterwards, you go, it sounds much, much better because I listened to the professional in the professional studio. So that is my point number one. Second set of ears never goes astray.
It was a fairly obvious point. I just want to point out to anybody, to people scoring, but well made for a man who is not normally arguing this kind of side of things. You know, I'll discuss. I've got a counterpoint for that a little later. But the first on my list here is really about budget, and this is where things have changed enormously, especially over the last even 5 or 6 years, but even 10 to 15 years, it's changed enormously. You can really get an awful lot of really good high quality gear now, and you can produce. Look, for some ears, the same results. I know there's always some people that can hear, you know, hey, you know, that album's no good because it hasn't got an LA2A compressor on it or whatever. But for mere mortals, and mere mortals listen to most of your music, the quality is simply amazing these days. Now, here's the thing: for what you will spend, if I encourage people to call their local pro studios tomorrow, find out how much it would realistically cost, and I bet you it's going to cost somewhere near what you would spend on the equipment you need to make a album at home. Now, especially if you're using GarageBand, I hasten to add. So but you know, I'm not talking about the unnecessary I'm not talking about the unnecessary gear. I mean, you know, surface controllers and things like that, they don't add to the sound. They're nice things to have, but I'm just talking about the necessary gear. So maybe a decent mic, a decent audio interface, and using some decent software. And not only that, but you'll also have that available for your second and your third and your fourth album as well. So that's my number one point.
That's a pretty good number one, but we know that the big things are in the number twos, right? So I'm going to jump into the number two.
That's terrible.
That's not even,
no one's scoring here, so I've got minus 200 points here, Pete. Yeah.
You're gonna dock me for that one. It's not even your usual double entendres or creepy old man jokes. It's just going straight to the poo jokes. All right. So I'm really glad you mentioned money, because money is definitely important here. And you might think that I'm going to go off on a weird tangent here and try and justify why you should spend hundreds of dollars on a recording studio and a professional studio. And I am, because you know what? When you are paying to do something, it has been 100% proven that it actually makes you do things better. The difference between getting things for free and then being able to use them versus having to pay, as soon as you have that monetary value associated with something, you can step up your game. You actually take things more seriously. So if you're actually paying to $50 an hour to record an album and you've got 8 hours in a studio and you're paying $400, I have no idea if that's what it costs to run a studio, by the way. But let's just say that that's a real thing. Then you've got to put that money aside. So you're going to be rehearsing.
So what you're saying here then is if I pay for sex, the sex is going to be better. Does that apply? You brought that up.
Just after I said that you're going to throw in the creepy old man comment, and then you just make sure that everyone knows. But
I'm just saying.
But I'm gonna move past that. I'm gonna be classier than that, and I'm gonna say that yes, if you're paying $50 an hour for anything, then yes, you're going to want to be rehearsed. You're gonna it's going to go badly. You're going to want to have practiced at home beforehand to make sure that when you get there, you're not going to suffer from any sort of performance anxiety, and you're going to be able to deliver on the first or second attempt. This is all going really downhill, but let's bring it back to recording.
I'm loving the point. I'm going to give you 500 for that.
Hey, my best point ever. No, my point is that home studio, you sit around noodling around forever. The reason that you want to go to a home studio is if you want to finish your track, then you need the pressure of going, we have this time, prepare your track, go and record it.
Okay. So what you're saying is you finish quicker if you pay for it. Yeah. All right. I get you.
100%.
Okay. So almost as a counter to that, I'd like to talk about the space you're in. And what I'm talking about is your home environment, your home space is where you're going to be yourself more than anything. And I think one of the parts of the art of music is revealing yourself. I think the best artists actually reveal themselves and make themselves sort of vulnerable, and I think that you're more likely in your own space to reveal yourself emotionally, and that's where I think you'll actually do it. Whereas if you're out in a kind of, I won't call it a pro studio, a public place, but a more formal environment, there's always that kind of, the engineer who I probably only met yesterday is the guy watching me, and I don't know if I'm going to really let go, right? Okay, so I'm not talking about the awesome experience that real top bands have, the sense that that they have amazing, obviously an art of a producer is to make the artist feel comfortable and relaxed. I understand that. We're not talking about that. Most of us, if we're going to pay, are going to go to our local studio in Milton Keynes or something in England, and we're not going to get a top-notch producer. Okay, but anyway, I digress. At home, you are comfortable, you're in your own space, and you will perform better. It's similar to your last point about performance. You always perform better at home.
Oh, wow. Would you believe we're at the halfway mark? On that note, where it's halftime. So let's say hello to the folks here that are here on your live chat, because I'm just going to take over your show here, Mike, because clearly you can't be trusted to not stop talking about inappropriate things. So yes, thank you to we've got Recording Studio 9 here, we've got Vachi here, we've got Jade Star here, we've got Priscilla's joined the stream, Oster Alien, which is our buddy Glenn, and Mark Clift from the Garage Band group. So I've got some support here. So cool. Guys, I want you to be cheering me on home in these final 2 points each. Are you ready for me to lay on point number 3 here, Mike?
Yes, go on. Lay point number 3 for me, Pete.
I said lay, didn't I?
Which side are you arguing for again?
I completely forgot.
I'm going to record all of this and put this out, the truth about Pete Johns. The Garage Band at all. He thinks you should just go to the pros.
Yeah, I know. I'm worried. I am actually genuinely worried, because sometimes, like, we get to the end and we're like, oh, here's what we really think, and that some people are going to join us halfway through the stream and go, oh, Pete has sold out. What's going on here? Unsubscribe. So yes, if you're thinking that, watch to the end. We'll do that YouTube thing. Watch to the end, and we'll reveal a great surprise. We won't, but watch to the end anyway. So I noticed there, Mike, that you've got some acoustic treatment behind you, don't you? That's looking pretty snazzy back there.
I don't like to use the term acoustic treatment. It makes it sound a bit sort of too snazzy. It's some foam tiles. Yeah. Anyway, that's another topic for another debate. Well,
Yeah, do you need the wankery? I mean, do you need the acoustic treatment? So
it's
yeah,
there on my channel.
some people have the acoustic treatment. Some maybe have some bass traps in the corner. Some might have some separation going on. They've got a few things in their home. But I don't know if you've seen my home studio here, Mike. But there's a treadmill behind that curtain. Sorry to like destroy the illusion here, but this is also my gym and my workout room. Over there's a bunch of storage cartons, and what you can't see over there is my washing that hasn't been put away yet. So what I'm saying is that we don't have a custom environment. Most of us don't have one room that is just a studio. And if you want the most optimal room sound, where would you go? Well, you'd go to a studio that is being tested and treated and absolutely to the nth degree. It's been worked out as to this is where the optimal sounds are. This is where we get zero reflections. This is where we get 100% isolation. Here's a vocal booth where we can capture that sound that you really want to go for. So yes, definitely. When I start laughing halfway through a point, you can tell I don't really believe in it. Yes, definitely go and spend all the money and go and record in a real recording studio. Go and do it right now. You know you want to. Done.
Okay, you ruined it at the end there. Look, you're doing your best here, Pete, and I just want to go to some of the comments on in the chat here. We've got Jade Star in there who says, and we've had Jade. Is this a follower of yours, Jade Star?
Oh yes, Jade Star, fantastic musician, excellent person, and all-round music guru.
Well, thanks for joining us, Jade. They say, then once you create a home studio, it doesn't matter how much you spend on your studio. Oh, sorry, I'm missing the first part of that. Personally, I think it's best to go into a studio and record a demo to actually have that experience of high-end gear and an engineer. Ask questions, pay attention. You can't beat the actual experience. And I think that's sort of repeating what Vachi from recordingstudio9.com was saying earlier about experience. And so there's a lot of people arguing on your side here, Pete. They're trying to help you out. You're failing miserably.
I'm not helping myself, but they're helping me, which is always awesome.
Priscilla says, first album I recorded at a pro studio and struggled with the fact that I could not repeat takes. Now I do that at home, can take a break and reapproach recording days later. For me, it's the way. And that's a pretty good point to make. I think that's what a lot of people like about recording at home. And then Oster Allen says, you walk into a studio with stuff ready to go and a producer will press the button and trick it up with techniques you wouldn't know how to do as a musician. And I think those are all very valid points. Now, moving on to my third point.
You've really reinforced my argument here.
I know.
The viewers have done better than I have. We need to invite them on to debate you next time.
I think we should, yeah, because they're doing a lot better than you are, I'm gonna say. But anyway, look, the gear is good enough. This is one. There's a lot of myths perpetuated by recording engineers and the like, and I've talked about this with mastering engineers at all. It's in their interest to have you believe that they've got some magic sauce that you don't have.
Some creative sauce.
I know you were going to say that.
Sauce is the title of your channel.
Look, your gear is good enough. Don't go on Gear Sluts and have people tell you need better preamps and all that baloney. Your gear's fine. The pros want you to believe that you need to have better gear, and you know it's just not true. I'll tell you what, the essence that you really need to have for a successful recording, that's a good song. It all starts with a song. It's hard to ruin a good song with really, I mean, you can with bad production. I'm not saying you can't, but a good song. I've been listening to a fair amount of, I was listening to a Beatles album today for some reason. I haven't listened to them for a while. I think it's, oh God, am I going to get the name wrong? Rubber Soul. One of their great albums. And I've got to say, I'm going to upset a lot of people here. I don't think the production was that great. One of the great songs that I love by them is Norwegian Wood. I was particularly Norwegian Wood. Don't sing it. We're going to get another copyright strike.
I've already sung a Beatles song today. Yeah.
But I tell you what, I've got to say I didn't like the production on it at all. But the song is so good.
Mm.
Even that production can not ruin it for me. So don't get so obsessed with the gear and the tweaking of knobs and things. Make it about the music. That's my third point. The conspiracy is my.
That's a good third point, and yeah, you managed to say tweaking your knobs without actually even grinning. So well done.
Tweaking your knobs.
You did say tweaking your knobs. Yeah, okay. I've got 5 points here, so I'm gonna have to pick a fourth because we're only going 4 points tonight to keep.
And those, I've got to say, those LA2As, they've got very, very big knobs. They're big and hard and round. Anyway,
I'm glad you're. So here's the thing: when you're at home, you've only got your own gear to play with. But the good thing about going to a recording studio is that you can suddenly play with someone else's gear. So if you, it's going way downhill.
I didn't anticipate this. Carry on it.
Yes, my point being that when you're starting out, especially, you don't know what you don't know, right? So you're going to go out and buy some gear, and you might just go completely blind, going, "I need a large diaphragm condenser microphone," and then you work out that your voice does not suit a large diaphragm condenser microphone. You're better off blasting it out into a friggin' Shure SM58, a dynamic microphone. So the beauty part of going to a recording studio is that you can say, "Hey, Mr. Recording Studio man, that I'm paying $100 an hour. I've upped it. The rates have gone up by $50, $100 an hour for. Then can you show me your mic locker? Because that's what people in recording studios have. I've been told on authority they have lockers full of mics. I don't know what that means, but it sounds impressive. So you go to their mic locker and you're like, let me try your U47. And then you try that. And then you go, that's a $10,000 mic. I'll never afford it. And then you go home and cry. But no, you actually can try out all these different things, all this great gear. You can turn your knobs, you can tweak your dials, and you can. I'm not doing well at all, am I? Was that minus 1,000?
I should have argued on your side. I had way better points than you prepared.
My points seemed so good half an hour ago when I wrote them.
My points, if I'd happened to have had to argue on your side, I'm beating you hands down here. Anyway.
All the people that are tuning in going, "Oh, I hope one of these guys really kicks it home and says recording studios for the win," and they're just like, "Oh, we backed a loser. What's going on?"
And I got to say, off camera, I'm crying a little bit. I've got a bit of a cold. But Jade has made a comment. I've worked out this weekly show is just a front for an episode of Benny Hill.
It is true. We need to get the sound effects and the theme music in. Except then Mike would get another copyright strike from the Benny Hill estate. Assuming he's dead. I'm assuming
he is dead. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Very unpolitically correct, wasn't he? Anyway,
yeah.
Darren Bryant has made a comment of a few years ago, Montgomery Gentry wrote and produced a song in one of their home studios and had it released later that day. Yeah, that's something that I could use that as my final point, but I just mentioning it. So yeah, it's also I think on my point, about how you can't really ruin a good song with bad production, but Priscilla made a comment. I kind of ruin them sometimes by overproducing them. So anyway, I am on my last point.
Bring it home strong. Do better than I do.
Here we go. And now I there's really no double entendres involved here. Any that you hear are only in your own mind, viewers and people alike. You can do it when inspiration strikes.
Yes. You can.
You can.
In the privacy of your own
home, you can do it when inspiration strikes. You won't have to perform. So I'm just reading my actual notes here. Oh my god! You won't have to perform a book time.
Yes.
Now, it's just a slight argument for the pro side, but I'll say this was one of the advantages that some of the big bands had in pro studios. Jade in the comments, please stop. Okay, so now this is a good point. This one of the advantages they had was I was watching an interesting documentary the other day about Capitol Studios, one of the top,
Mm,
in that par with sort of Abbey Road and what have you.
yep.
And they were saying about when Green Day recorded in there, which was one of the last sort of big budget albums they had in there.
Mm, yep.
They went and recorded, I think, American Idiot in there, and they were in that studio. It's an amazing studio for I think 5 or 7 months. It was locked down, right?
Mm.
And I thought, I reckon I could produce American Idiot in 7 months. No, I didn't think that. I may be arrogant, but not. But that was, yeah, and I think the Beatles spent an awful lot of time in Abbey Road, and it wasn't like they'd booked, for a week to record an album. They had the luxury of time, so they were able to get relaxed in that environment and spend a lot of time there. I know I appear to be arguing for the pro studios, but it's very likely that mere mortals cannot afford that kind of time in a studio, but we can have that amount of time at home. So you can spend 7 months recording at home your album, just like
Mm.
Green Day did. If you go and book out even your local studio for the next 7 months, then you better make sure you've already had a successful album before.
Yeah, I'm gonna pay that because we're close to the point where we get to actually talk about what we really think. Is that right, Mike? Not that I
Yeah,
have
that's
already
fine.
done all of that.
And now I just want to explain again, if it does need explaining, that myself and Pete do take some slightly sort of false positions sometimes. We are having a debate, and we have to choose a side each. So often life exists in the grey areas.
Yep.
And so at this stage we tend to reveal our true opinion, having done our best to fight our side. And
Yep.
and I won, by the way, on points. Like,
Oh, you crushed me.
56,000
Again, if it was the viewers, they would have beaten you, but because they relied on me, they lost. Sorry, guys.
positions. Yeah. Thanks, Joe. So, what position do you prefer?
My preferred position, Mike,
Yes.
is that I like to go both ways. Is my preferred position in all things. So yes, I having recorded in pro studios very rarely, like not for a very long time, and even the pro studios I recorded in weren't particularly pro. I think that there's benefits to both. So all of the points that I made were kind of based on reality, which is that I do think you need some time pressure. I do think you need some cost pressure. I do think that too many people in home studios spend a year noodling on a single song when they should actually be finishing songs, getting them out there and working on their next song. So that is a good reason to book in some time. And you can kind of do this. The way I look at it is do all the things you do in a pro studio, but do it in your home studio. So have a time goal. Say I'm going to release a single by the end of June, and then record it, mix it, master it, and release it. But yeah, the other points I made around having a second set of ears. But again, there's ways around that as well. You can do that by getting a buddy to listen to your mix and giving you some feedback, getting it mixed by a mixing engineer, getting it mastered by a separate mastering engineer. So there are ways to do all the things that I said there. But yeah, there is some experience. There's some merit behind getting some experience and from someone else. And I've always said that you need to be a lifelong learner, and I want to be a lifelong learner in the world of music. So I'm never going to say my studio is all I will ever do, and I'll never listen to anyone else, or I'll never go anywhere else, because that's locking yourself down. So that is my views. What say you, Mike?
Yes, I have a very hybrid position on this. I think I say many times that we live in wonderful times where we can do the most amazing things I wouldn't have imagined when I was a youngster, first recording, and we're very blessed. But I think there's also a really interesting thing that exists now, where I would suggest to people, if you've got some budget, that you do a lot of it at home, whatever you feel competent in, then certainly do that. If you feel competent to do it all at home, then sure, do it all at home. I think, as I said, the songs speak for themselves, but I think that it doesn't need to be too expensive to perhaps record a lot of it at home and then take it for a mixing at a studio, or even you were mentioning about the microphones in your points earlier, which was a decent point, or maybe just track some vocals and things like that in a studio. So there's lots of halfway positions actually quite valid. And I think that one of the biggest problems, or the biggest problem for me in a home studio, is isolation. You know, not just physical isolation, but isolation from other people's ideas. Watched a wonderful movie that came out a few years ago now called Sound City. I don't know if you've ever caught that one. Brilliant movie. And one of the takeaways I got from that was from, I think it was Mick Fleetwood. He said, it's awesome. You can actually do everything by yourself now, and you can produce everything to a very high quality completely by yourself. And he said, but you'll have much more fun if you do it with other people. And that's not another double entendre, but you know, and I think that there's lots and lots of validity in that. So I think working with other people at any level, whether it's just on the final part of it, or even sometimes, you know, during the recording process, is not always going to be a good thing. Sometimes too many cooks can spoil the broth, all that stuff. But yeah, it's usually works well collaborating. So I encourage collaboration. However, I want to make another point, I'm afraid, because I've noticed as I fielded this question that some people seem to forget that we are home studio enthusiasts. Meaning that we're not all trying to make the next #1 album, you know, get on the biggest playlist on Spotify or what have you. There's some that do this for pleasure. At most, our songs might reach 100 or 200 people, our Facebook friends list, whatever that is, right? And this, I think that's a very, very, very valid way to make music. And that means that there often won't be any kind of budget involved at all. So look, if you just want to produce music and send it out to a few friends, and I think that's a part of the reason why our channels respectively exist, for what I view to be the majority of people who are doing this for their own pure pleasure, then I say, yeah, you, in this case, you may not need to go to a pro studio. If you can afford it, then do it. It's fun.
Absolutely, I agree. And if I were arguing the home studio point, one of my points was that yes, most of us, and I will say most of us, are weekend warriors. We are part-time Pete's, if you want to use that term. We don't have the time, we don't have the money. We want to find a way to do this stuff with what we have, with where we are, and we can actually just get stuff done. So yes, I agree, and the folks that are here live are contributing to the same sort of thing, and some amazing things as well, to just point this out, that whatever you want to do. And I think that's your point, and you don't often make good points, but this was a good one, that yes, the end goal has to be actually thought about, because like you say, not everyone, some people are doing this just for themselves, some people are doing it just to share their art with other people, and some people do want to be the next big thing. So yeah, think about the end in mind. And I've got one more point, and then I'll actually let you finish the show. But I watched the masterclass with Tom Morello, one of my favorite guitarists, Rage Against the Machine, Audio Slave, Prophets of Rage, all of the great bands. Excellent electric guitar player, and he made a great point, which is more related to playing in bands as opposed to the sort of collaboration. But he said that the reason you should get out sometimes of your comfort zone of just you by yourself and recording is that, yeah, when he's with Rage Against the Machine, it's like 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 equals like 472. So the sum of the parts, and having collaboration and doing things with other people, you're doing a whole lot more than you will ever do by yourself, or even that all 4 people will do individually. And this show is a testament to that, Mike, because you and I together are quite sensible. As soon as we get together, it's all just like poo and double entendre.
It's true. It's true. We had the help of Jade this week. Enormously. Look, it's been a good show actually. I don't think we've come to any hard conclusions as to the actual question, but these shows are always to encourage thought for the people watching, not for us to give any final answer whatsoever. I do want to thank a big thank you to the people in the chat this week. It's been quite active and fun as well. And some final points to finish off with, Pete. Vachi from Recording Studio 9 has made another comment. He's made lots of contributions this week, so thanks for that, Vachi. He said when he started, he was in his home studio, then he went into a pro studio, and it blew his mind what was possible. So now he has the experience, he can bring it into his current pro home studio. I think what he's talking about there is to be inspired by what individuals have achieved through years of experience. There's lots of validity there. Jade, in one of the more sensible points that Jade has made tonight, one of my albums back in 2007, I went to a studio with our drummer to record all of the drums, 12 songs, then spent the next 7 months doing the rest at home on Logic. And that's the kind of hybrid approach that I think is really valid as well. Mimo Japan, hi Mimo Japan. The whole question depends on how much on the individual. Is it a musician or a technical engineer type? I'd say musicians with technical skills could grab knowledge from pro studios and then adapt them at home. And it's true. There are different types of people. I've got some very talented musician friends. You acquire them over the years and put them in front of a computer, and they're like, it's just not their bag. So it does depend on the type of person. And I think that's all of the comments that I have time to read out. But thanks again to the people in the comments. It's been fun this week, and we hope to see you next week. It will be on Pete's channel next week, which is why we always ask you to look in the description to pick up the link to Pete's channel and subscribe there if you're not subscribed, so that you get notified about the next show. Have you got any ideas about topic, Pete, for next week?
Oh, we have been throwing around some ideas, but we haven't really landed on one. I would. This one was a good one, but yeah, I'd love to talk more about the whole intent of music, or something along the lines of the amateur versus professional kind of vibe. But I haven't landed on it yet. So please leave a comment if you're watching on the replay, especially if you're not here live. Drop in the comments and say, Pete, we should be talking about this, because I will then be able to completely butcher it while Mike makes fun of me and makes jokes about the content. So no, we'll decide on that during the week, and keep an eye out, and we'll let you know closer to the day.
That was Pete's very long way of saying, please suggest a comment for next week. So,
that was really bad, wasn't it? I think we're done.
Thanks very much, guys. The show is now ending. We will see you next Thursday at the same time, and thank you for watching.